Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of WTF What the Footy. I'm one of your co-hosts, Robert Gregory, alongside retired Pittsburgh Tribune Review reporter extraordinaire. You may have seen his byline with the Pittsburgh Pirates, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Joe Rutter.
Now co-host of this great podcast, and that's my claim to fame now on Twitter, hoping to build that brand up from
I
scratch.
saw that. That was very big of you. Thank you.
This is my new passion, being semi-retired. So, I got that going for me, I guess. As we get started, though, I would like to mention, a new thing I'd like to introduce: the song of the week. One of our passions of the sport is listening to the theme songs of these teams and them singing them after the games. And it still amuses me when I play the visiting team's song.
Amusing and curious I am when this happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, they play it. And, I can't imagine going to a Steelers game and then playing the Baltimore Ravens song.
Oh, my God.
After the Ravens beat the Steelers here or something. So
you have to call in the National Guard.
That's right. They'd be rioting all over the place. So, but then again, NFL teams, when they win, don't stand around in a circle and cheer or, sing they don't have fight songs. But if they did, that would be kind of neat. I think the teams ought to adopt the AFL system, sing the fight song. But I figured we could do a song of the week. And I was going to go with somebody else this week. If anybody knows us from this podcast, I love the Gold Coast theme song. But for the first time since 2012, Gold Coast is atop the ladder for the first time ever. So it's appropriate now, I think. The song of the week has to be the Gold Coast Sun theme song.
This easily has the best tempo of any of them, right?
Oh, it does. It's really great.
And it's original.
It is. So anyhow, I wanted to get a chorus of that in for our song of the week. Try to rotate that up every week.
Now, can you play that at 100 times the speed to mimic how they sing it in their lawn chairs in the locker room area?
I am sure I could figure out a way to do that. Put it on a speed and a half or double speed to get that going through. But and I like to have one new song every week, and then maybe by the midpoint of the year, toward the end of the year, we can pick out our top fives and maybe try to determine the best and worst songs in the AFL.
Well, let me tell you whose theme song we did not hear this past weekend.
Besides Carlton's, who was idle. But go ahead.
Carlton was idle, so they have a fine excuse.
Yes.
For not hearing the song. But another team that we did not hear the song. And we talked about campers being happy last week. It took about half a quarter for all of that Melbourne optimism to evaporate. And now I feel like I'm back to where we were at the end of last season.
That's the way Carlton kind of is. I felt bad for you.
Crushed by Freo. We will get into that later on. But first, we got to talk about Tasmania.
Yes.
A lot of stuff going on with Tasmania.
They don't even have a team in yet, which is
they've got their VFL entry.
Yes, which they won. I guess they're also the Tasmania Devils. I guess they are
the Tasmania Devils.
Tasmania Devils.
I'm sure that there's some kind of legal infringement thing going on there, because I would love for them to be the Tasmanian Devils. That would be phenomenal. Exactly. And if that cartoon character was their actual mascot, that would be fantastic. But
that would be great.
But it's not. But it's not. Yes.
But I guess in my research of Tasmania, I guess there are actual, they call them devils, that are just exclusive to that island.
They remind me of Wolverines.
Okay.
Now I don't know if that's the same size or whatever's going on with that, but
Yeah.
Just the logo on their Guernsey.
Mm-hmm.
And their Guernseys are phenomenal. They're like that deep dark green, and I think there's yellow and red in there, and they got the nice logo. But anyway, 96-79 over Coburg, who was, I guess, middle of the ladder last year in the VFL, so very exciting. Their winning song is "Road to Gundagai," which is an Irish folk tune written in the 20s, and because they just chosen it, they didn't have time to practice it, and now they got a lot of press because they didn't know their song.
Well, we're going to have to listen to that, add it to our collection so we can go with 19 songs. What I really like is, which, I don't think they do that much in the States here, but you've got this new franchise and you're letting them build up in the so-called minor leagues with their name, with their uniform, their Guernseys, and, giving them a couple years to get built. And I assume a lot of these players on this team will eventually be AFL players in a couple years when they take off. But it's neat to see them come in and try to get this thing off the ground.
I think their captain has 88 games with Essendon. I mean, so they have AFL experience on this team. The North Hobart Oval was the site of this game. Sold it out, 10,634 strong. They go 14-12-96 to Coburg's 11-13-79, and they get their first VFL victory. It's been 18 years since Tasmania has had a team of any kind, and they come away with a win.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a big thing they pushed to get that going. It looked like it might fall apart with the stadium issues. I guess that was pushed through last year. So they're building
December,
the stadium, and we're going to have a 19th team, and everybody's going to have at least 1 week off when they come in 2028, I believe, is their first year. So we have 2 more years without them.
That's right. They've got 2 years in the VFL, and then they are folded into the AFL. And you were talking about the stadium, which is one of my WTFs for this week, because there's a lot about this stadium I understand. But let's talk about their big britches first, because they got themselves a team, they've got themselves a win, but the team that's been coming into their area to make sure nobody forgets about footy up there, Hawthorn, is kind of being given the boot right now.
And if I'm Tasmania, at least the club, and you're trying to build fans, I can see the rationale for one of giving Hawthorn the boot. But I guess Hawthorn, you know this better than I do, is contractually obligated to play some games over there. And I guess they're trying to build their brand. I'm not sure why Hawthorn was chosen, whether they need the boost more than the other teams in and around the Melbourne area. But and now it's a big issue is whether Tasmania should be upset that Hawthorn is coming in for the next 2 years and playing some games there.
Well, and so the deal is they're on a 2-year deal right now. The 2-year deal is 4 games a year, totaling $9 million. So they're essentially getting a little over $1 million a game to play up in Tasmania. And I believe they're usually playing at the university there, the University of Tasmania. Although Belvery Oval, I think, is the other site. In Tasmania. And I get it too, but is it really hurting your brand that much if Hawthorn fulfills its contract? I mean, I'm pretty sure the only reason Hawthorn is doing this is because it's $1 million a game.
Yeah, they're getting a pay.
I mean, that's big money over there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they're going to be there once Tasmania enters the official AFL competition. So I could see Hawthorn's side of this. I also could see Tasmania wanting to try to get some exclusivity out of the deal. But again, they're playing in separate leagues right now. I don't think Hawthorn has a VFL team there, do they? I wouldn't imagine so.
I wouldn't imagine either, but I don't know that.
I don't think that's an issue.
I mean, either way, PR-wise, I mean, this cannot be the foot you want to start out on as a team that in 2 years is going to be playing these guys. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand what the thinking is behind that. Well, the exclusivity I get, but I don't think anybody is going to confuse Tasmania and Hawthorn.
Yeah, I guess I saw one story where the Queen, not the Queen that we know, but I guess the Queen over there, was there for a promotional visit. and all the kids.
Oh, she's kicking the ball everywhere and doing all kinds of stuff, right?
But all the kids that were there greeting her had Hawthorn jerseys on, Guernseys. And
oh no!
In Tasmania, they felt snubbed that they should be wearing their colors, which maybe hadn't even been released yet.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, what are we complaining about here? Yeah. Isn't there plenty of time? You know, again, the WTF, and this is going to fold into the whole stadium discussion that we're about to have.
Yeah.
You know what? Focus your energy on getting your stadium done, which this week they announced will be delayed by 2 years. Jeez. They already know that they're not going to be able to move into their new digs until 2031.
Jeez. How long? How does it take 5 years to build a 23,000 capacity stadium? That's what's confusing to me.
Well, when it costs $1.13 billion in Australia, apparently it takes that long to spend that kind of money. And this is what I don't get. $1.13 billion. Where's my math here? That's $792 million here in the States.
Yeah. Which is,
given the stadiums we build here, the palaces we build here, you would be better able to understand that figure. But like you said, this new stadium for Tasmania, it only seats 23,000 people.
Now they can get to 30 for concerts, but still, your point's well taken for this.
I mean, for that kind of money, they better be developing 12 blocks around it.
It better be something impressive. No, I'm sure it's going to have the retractable roof.
It has a translucent dome.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know if that's retractable, but the fact that it's translucent tells me it's not.
Oh, maybe it isn't. Okay. I thought it did, but I could be mistaken.
Well, I mean, I guess if they wanted to retract the roof, that was another $300 million or something. maybe they just couldn't afford that. I looked up. The government is kicking in $375 million. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're back to the Aussie money now. Okay, yeah. $375 million with how do I want to say this? They've thought about overruns. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it goes up to about $500 million, $500 million kicked in by the government. And that was the big deal. I mean, that's why there was so much angst over this stadium and getting it done, because of the money that I'm assuming taxpayers would have to fork over. Okay, we're talking about the fans' money. But they weren't going to get a team unless they got a new stadium, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand why you want to do that. But 1.13 billion for 23,000 seats?
Yeah,
I just cannot comprehend that.
I can't comprehend it either. And maybe there's something here we're missing. Like you said, maybe there's outside development that is considered a part of this.
I mean, it has to be, doesn't it?
I would think so. I mean, the roof can't be that. I mean, the roof better be pretty magical and do all kinds of things. If that's what you're spending, one point, they better project the moon and the stars up on that thing if that's what they can do. But I mean, yeah, it's,
it ought to make SoFi Stadium look absolutely pedestrian for that kind of money.
They really should. And,
and SoFi is, I mean, wouldn't you consider it probably one, if not the jewels of this country as far as stadiums go?
Because it houses 2 football teams and they have major events there. The other being, I guess, Reliant in Vegas, which was, a ton of money spent for that.
Vegas is a good one. Yeah. Vegas is a good one. Yeah. Because
things like attract WrestleManias there too.
Exactly.
Which draws, 70, 80,000 people, but you're talking 23 to 25, 30 with concerts, 1,000 people. That's just,
I don't see it. There has to be something we're missing. For comparison, I looked it up. So we live in the Pittsburgh area.
Yes.
They built PNC Park opened it in 2001. Home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Major League Baseball team. Built it for $216 million. Okay. In today's money, that's around $400 million.
Yeah.
Okay. That thing seats 38,747. Mm-hmm. So about what? 1.5 times?
Yeah.
What the competitive capacity of this new stadium is?
And no roof. No roof.
And no roof, no
Yeah.
translucent roof.
Yeah.
Heinz Field, 2001, right? 281 million. So today that's roughly it's a little short of 520 million dollars. Seating now is 65.5. It wasn't when it opened because they closed in one of the end zones. But still, far more than the expected capacity at this new Tasmania stadium.
And it has everything that was needed at the time: the luxury boxes, the suites, the club levels, things like that. Now, some of those have been upscaled in some of these newer stadiums, and I'm sure PNC or Heinz Field and PNC Park would probably love to have some more of that stuff. But they're very functional, serviceable stadiums. Again, imagine how much
for the
less
most
they could do
part
them for if it was for 23,000 fans.
For the most part, they're serviceable.
Yeah.
We got a little problem with the grass there at now Acrisure Stadium. So
yeah, but
and didn't they when they built the former Heinz Field, which I'm totally okay with still calling it Heinz Field, by the way, even though Heinz kind of bailed on us. That's probably another show. But anyway,
bottles away too.
That's another thingy going on.
Yeah.
When they built the former Heinz Field, they kind of dumbed it down to cut costs, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and they did that to a little bit at PNC Park as well. If you've ever been in the press box, you know why, because it sits way on top of the facility. But and they did that at Heinz Field too. I believe they might have upgraded them, but they initially had troughs in the restrooms for the men. They may have upgraded those, but that was kind of.
I think the troughs are gone.
Yeah,
I think the troughs are gone, which that's how us Yinzers do. What else can you say, right?
But in Tasmania, those better be gold plated.
I was gonna say they better be marble troughs with gold plating. Oh my gosh. I also remember the first renderings of Heinz Field having like big smokestacks in the corners that would go off every time the Steelers scored a touchdown and stuff like that. So, I mean, when I say they kind of cut back on the cost of Heinz Field, it seems like they kind of cut back on those costs, but you still end up with an NFL football stadium that actually at 62, 63 even sounds small given the NFL. Of course, that was 25 years ago now.
Yeah.
But again, they spent about half the money for twice the room, twice the size. And I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Forget at PNC Park, they originally were going to have a pirate ship, a replica pirate ship outside the one wall right by the river, and they scrapped that because of cost overruns.
Yeah.
Which, they didn't need that anyhow.
No. Nobody cares about the pirate ship.
Yeah. This isn't Tampa Bay. Well, you don't need that.
Well, and wasn't that kind of the rationale? Is that it wasn't original?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't an original idea, and that was kind of the back and forth about that too, which I'm totally about. I mean, Tampa Bay's got their pirate ship, and they can have their pirate ship.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pirates are just looking for 500. Build us 500. Build us 500, and we'll show up, right?
Exactly. Have a winning season. Blue Moon.
Have a winning season. So that's what's going on in Tasmania. Good for them. Good for them getting a week one win in the VFL.
Yeah.
They got 2 more years of this VFL stuff, and then they will graduate to the big leagues. But they won't have a stadium until 2031, so they will be playing in that Belvedere Oval and at Tasmania University, where I believe Hawthorn has been playing. And we'll see what happens with Hawthorn. I mean, like I said, I don't understand how. I mean, I understand the whole brand thing. It's 4 times a year.
Yeah.
It's 4 times a year in a 25-week schedule. Are you really afraid of your fans crossing over to Hawthorn?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to, while we were talking about this, I was trying to think in my head, if the NFL expanded to London, which has always been kind of a rumored thing down the road, and Jacksonville's still committed to play a couple games a year over there, how would that go over with the London franchise if Jacksonville was still coming in there twice a year or whatever it was to play home games? I mean, they might be a little chafed by that as well.
And we can have a little World League of American Football talk here. The London Monarchs.
Yeah.
That was the entry to that league.
Yeah. So I mean,
Do you think the Monarchs? You think the Monarchs will be mad at Jacksonville coming over and playing?
I mean, if they were taken seriously as a true NFL franchise,
yeah,
and we're going to open up in a couple years, I could see them being concerned.
That you know that example does kind of change my perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe Tassie does have a point.
Yeah.
But the way they went about it, totally wrong.
Yeah.
Totally nearsighted.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to make friends play nice as the new kid on the block. They can't do that. They can't do that.
No.
Speaking of nice kids, there was an incident during that ill-fated Freo Melbourne game over the weekend.
Yes.
With Freo's Pat Voss, who is no stranger to trouble.
Apparently.
But he found time in this blowout victory for the Dockers to create some trouble of his own.
Yeah, and apparently, let me expose my unshaven head here. But apparently, to do this to a player, rub his hair, is a
Harrison Petty is the victim.
Yes, he is. Now that's hard.
Melbourne's Harrison Petty.
Exactly. It's hard for us to understand in Pittsburgh because the three teams we have here: hockey, football, baseball, where the caps are helmets. So players aren't mussing with each other's hair when there's any kind of confrontation. Now in soccer, you can see it. In the NBA, you can see it. We don't have an NBA team. We only have like a double-A soccer team. And I don't think that's ever been an issue. So I was a little surprised that this got them as much furor as it did. But I think it was more the crying emoji, maybe.
Well, that's
the kind of, he was poking fun at Harrison Petty for that because of an incident a few years ago.
Yeah, so Voss rubbed his head first and then did the whole crying thing, which happened to Petty 2 years ago. Brisbane's Noah Answorth did it to him. And that was 2 years after an incident with Brisbane's Dane Zorko, who apparently made a comment about a family member who was in medical difficulty and it brought Petty to tears. And that's where this is all started from.
Yes. It was supposedly his mother. But from what I understand, then the mother came out and said, look, I'm fine. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not in bad health. Yeah. But whatever he said, though, did upset Petty to the point where he was, I think, 22 at the time.
Yeah.
He did tear up. Zorko came out afterwards and immediately said that, yeah, there was reasons why I did that. I wasn't unprovoked, but I shouldn't have said it. He apologized profusely, tried to retract what he said, apologized several times after that for that. Now, I don't think that Patrick Voss is going to do the same thing. He seems like maybe he's a little more of a hothead.
Well, I mean, he's come out and said that he's a competitor, and that's why it happened. Yeah. And he's been fined $1,500, which apparently goes down to $1,000 if he pleads guilty to this offense. Which, by all intents and purposes, he's gonna plead guilty, and so he doesn't have to pay the extra money. And like I said, this guy is no stranger to trouble as it is, and now the talk is whether the AFL will institute a taunting rule to combat this kind of behavior. Yeah, the NFL has a taunting rule. Does the AFL need a taunting rule to combat this kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I've seen the comparisons made on other AFL-related broadcasts and podcasts talking about this, and it's something that's they've tried to curb over here. And the thing about the AFL is there's so much close proximity, physical contact, getting in your face where you don't have a helmet, where each player is impeded by that. Now, you've had some instances of spitting in the NFL, which has resulted in players getting fined.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
I think the AFL, I'm surprised they don't have a taunting rule in place because I'm surprised something like this doesn't happen more often. The thing that I found interesting that, Patrick Voss is the guy that's doing this when he's the guy who has the nickname. Look at to make sure to get this right. The Prancing Pony. So if anybody with the nickname the Prancing Pony to go on the offensive like that, maybe that explains it, because maybe he doesn't like being called that, which I wouldn't want to be called that either. But I'd love to know how he gained that reputation.
Yeah, I would love to know how that stuck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My big WTF on this is, I mean, I'm kind of back and forth with the whole taunting thing. You know, I actually thought we would have had more action on this after that homophobic slur by the Adelaide player last year.
Yeah.
You know, that almost cost him the entire finals. But my big WTF on this is the juvenile nature of this burn of his. I mean, it's bad enough that it's 2 years old, 4 years old for the original act.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things that I don't think I would be terribly proud of seeing that video being replayed over and over and over again of my behavior.
And it will be. And that's the thing. And this, especially in this day and age, you're going to see it. You're going to see it ad nauseum. He won't be able to escape this. That'll be on his Wikipedia bio, I'm sure, for the rest of his playing career.
Oh, fun fact. Because that was one of the comments made by one of the commentators. I can't remember who it was. But he basically said, Pat Voss does not have the standing to be doing stuff like that. Okay? He does not have the cred.
Yeah.
Okay? He does not have the swerve to do this stuff. Fun fact, I went to Wikipedia to look up Pat Voss's page. He doesn't have one. That's how much swerve this guy has.
Well, maybe he's trying to get one. Maybe he's trying to build his swag with these, kind of comments.
I mean, what do they say? They say how's it go? All attention is good attention, or something like that.
Yeah.
As far as building your brand. But tell you what, I don't know that this is the way you want to go. And then didn't he fireman carry Ed? What's his name?
Was that him, the fireman?
I think it was. I thought it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. That seemed to be done in more in fun.
More in jest, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it helped out that the Melbourne player took it as such, and maybe Voss said something to him like, "Hey, I'm just trying to get you out of harm's way. I'm not mad at you."
He really didn't fight it, did he?
Yeah, no. After he was up in the air, he figured, well, let's see where this goes.
Well, let's see what kind of ride I'm going to take here. I mean, we're already getting beat by 400 points today. Why would I show some fight here when we haven't shown any fight so far today?
Yeah, and one thing I do want to say about this game, because we've kind of talked about everything, but I did DVR it because it started, I think, at 3:15 here in the States. I DVR'd it with the intention of waking up the next day, watching it, and I believe I woke up in the middle of the night, saw the score and how bad it was. I think the first thing I did in the morning is I texted you and says, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch this one," and I just ended up deleting it from my DVR.
Yeah, that's a waste.
Highlights on AFL.com. And that 8 minutes was enough for me. I didn't.
Yeah, total waste of space on your DVR. I was like 44-7 at the end of the first quarter, and actually Melbourne had pulled to within, I'm going to say, a couple goals, maybe a little more, maybe 15 near the end of the first half, and then had a couple defensive breakdowns, and Freo kicked 2 goals right at the end of the half, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it. Now the commentators did recognize that Melbourne seemed to be playing to the end. Okay, they didn't just sleepwalk through the second half, and that's why the margin of victory for Freo was what it was. But I got to tell you, as a D's fan, my hashtag Disasters came back quickly. And this is basically the same kind of run that we saw, especially through the second half of the season last year. Was it 118-70 was the final, 38-point margin. It wasn't even that close.
It really wasn't. And after watching Melbourne the first week, I felt confident enough that maybe they were going to be a little more competitive. I took I think it was 18 points they were getting, figuring, they should be able to cover this. They might even, have a chance to win this.
Yeah.
Nope, not even close.
Not even close.
Brought back memories of my Carlton Sydney game in the first week when they totally melted down.
What's funny to me is all the attention that was brought to Melbourne's new offense. talking youth, talking speed, talking, deadly accuracy, kicking goals instead of behinds, not settling, all this kind of stuff. None of that was apparent on the road at Frio this week. Absolutely zero of it. So now you're left to wonder, okay, what kind of team does Stephen King have?
Makes you wonder. And they have Carlton this week. Both teams very similar. We'll see. We'll learn a lot about our two teams after, I believe, Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning game. They're the final game of the weekend is Carlton, Melbourne. Rest of the results for last week, boy, some surprises, right?
Yeah.
Hawthorn 99-82 over Sydney. So we were talking up Sydney, everybody talking up Sydney. Now all of a sudden the Swans fall back to earth.
The big talk was Charlie Curnow going into a shell in the second half.
Yeah.
He maybe touched the ball one time and just didn't do anything. And now
that's insane.
For all, his big acquisition over in Sydney, now the heat's up on him now, and people are wondering who got the best end of that trade.
You talked about Gold Coast. They won by 68 points over Richmond this week, 128-60. You mentioned they're the top of the ladder for the first time since what? They expanded to 18? Is that is that how we're talking about that?
Yes.
Their percentage is insane. It's 191. I mean, there's nobody close to that percentage.
No.
And we got two teams at the top of the ladder. Okay, we've got Gold Coast and we've got Western, who won another close game over Adelaide, who's going to contend this year. This is not a bad footy team in Adelaide, but Western beats them 94-88 on the road. So it's Gold Coast, Western at the top of the ladder, but the disparity in the percentage, it goes from 191 for Gold Coast back down to 137 for Western. And you may say to yourself, well, I mean, it's 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season. Who cares about the percentage? I mean, you got to care about the percentage because that is the primary tiebreaker in this whole shebang.
Yeah, you've got to get bigger win. You've got to get more lopsided wins, which Western hasn't done. But for Western to be 3-0 at this point, if I'm a Western fan, I take that and see what happens, and hope you beat Gold Coast down the road at some point. The thing about Gold Coast though, Christian Petrarca hurts his hamstring. Your guy from Melbourne, he's going to be out for a while. He's going to even miss the homecoming against Melbourne in a couple.
That's how it looks. Yeah.
So
and they even have the week off this week.
Yeah, Gold Coast has got some. They got some healing up to do. They've had some injuries. Sydney's dealing with some things here. Brisbane finally comes back after having some injuries and suspensions. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah. Other results, St. Kilda getting their first win over Greater Western Sydney, 78-74, but everybody's talking about the 29 seconds that neither side will get back.
Yeah, apparently they lost 29 seconds late in this. Was it late in
so Max Hall kicks a goal for St. Kilda, and the clock went from 29 to 0, and nobody caught it at the time.
Which is surprising.
And the league did come out today and admit that there was a mistake, that 29 seconds should have been added on somewhere in the game, which I don't have a problem with. Yeah. Okay? This mini WTF. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. You're missing 29 seconds. You should put 29 seconds on the clock. If any Melbourne St. Kilda fans know, a lot can happen in 29 seconds, right?
Yes, it can.
So, but the big deal to me is everybody's saying, oh my God, it was a 4-point game and these 29 seconds could have meant everything. This happened in the first half.
Yeah, it wasn't at the very end.
Does it really impact the game that much when you're missing it in the first half?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they noticed it right away. After the game, there's nothing you can do about it. But my question is, I mean, and I guess this can happen in a lot of sports, but they also keep time on the field so that they would catch that right away? And wouldn't the refs say, wait a minute, no, half's not over. We still got to keep going here.
I mean, that's pretty much how it is in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There's always, do we know which referee it is that keeps time on the field?
I do not know that.
But, I don't know that either.
But they do that.
But somebody does.
Yeah, because they're always saying, hey, please put so-and-so, add this much time back on the clock. And, and the referees do that in college basketball and in the NBA.
Well, I mean, they do it in the NFL for good reason because these crappy stadiums that they build, for $6-7 billion, the clocks just don't work.
well, yeah.
That just wasn't important when we were trying to build this great stadium of ours, this jewel of ours, and trying to figure out a way. How are we going to shoehorn 23,000 people in this thing?
Well, hopefully their clocks work. For that kind of money, the clocks better work.
Can you imagine what's going to be said if nothing in this place works? Delayed for 2 years, $1.13 billion. I mean, I assume they're going to have one of those grand flushes like we do here when we build new stadiums, just to make sure the toilets work.
Yeah. Did they say why it's delayed for 2 years? They just don't have the money? Or?
No, but the ownership said they expected this delay. Which, okay, how?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that I didn't mention. So I mentioned before about how the government, 375 they're kicking in, right? Up to 500 million, right?
Yeah.
Have any of them discussed the overruns that are going to happen in the next 2 years? I shouldn't say in the next 2 years. In the 2 years that this stadium is delayed. There's no way that money is going to cover the overruns they're going to have.
Oh, I'm sure it won't. And I did see something about, I think it's the franchise itself has to kick in with $12 million a year over a 12-year period.
Something like that, yeah.
It gets to $144 million. So maybe that's part of this equation.
And what I would like to know about that is if that starts immediately with their AFL membership, or whether that gets delayed for 2 years as well, because technically they're not in that stadium yet.
They're not, and I'm sure they don't have the revenues to cover a $12 million outlay being a VFL team.
Yeah.
Unless they're selling a heck of a lot of Guernseys.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They are good-looking shirts.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They really are. That kit is sharp. That is a top-tier kit. That green is fantastic.
Like this bad boy here.
I mean, that's a classic, of course.
Yes.
But the Tassie Guernsey is whoever is behind the design of those, well done.
Yes.
Well done. Very I mean, you're screwing up Hawthorn and you're screwing up the stadium, but you got those jerseys. You're good.
That's right.
You're good.
Hey, getting back to the subject here, though, I don't think we've talked about the one game. The other surprise.
Oh, we're still getting there. We're still. Yeah. I know. We're kind of getting off on tangents because I'm just so. Yeah. I'm so WTF'd over this whole stadium thing. I just, given what we experience here and the numbers we deal with here, and knowing that the numbers over there, especially salary-wise, aren't even close to American sports, right? Mm-hmm. To see a stadium being built for that much money that's the size of a cupcake, I just don't understand.
I don't either.
It makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good time for us to be starting the show, so it's something we can monitor.
Well, I mean, I think it's time we start reaching out and getting some guests to start explaining some of this stuff to us because I mean it's just not making sense to this Yinzer. I'm sorry.
As we build our followers, the Yanks here, we're shooting blanks talking about this because we're not in the know. We're hoping to get some Aussie guests here to maybe shed some wisdom, but we got to build our brand first.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, I mean. Should we be mad at other podcasters for stepping in our territory like Tassie is with Hawthorn?
I guess, hey, it's a cutthroat business.
I was going to say, should we get the attorneys involved and start sending letters? You thought this was going to be a short show. We're about 39 minutes already.
Yeah, no kidding. We're going for a record. God.
All right, you wanted to talk about so would you say what the game you want to talk about is that the game of the weekend?
I would think it was the last game of the weekend, so yes, I would believe it.
Despite the fact that Gold Coast gets to the top of the ladder, big deal. You played the song, big deal. Western keeps pace, big deal there because they've pretty much the Bulldogs have kind of dovetailed the end of last season with the beginning of this season. It's like they haven't missed a beat, right? But that's not what you want to talk about.
No.
You want to talk about...
I want to go to the other end of the ladder.
Well, I mean, the one team was not at that end of the ladder.
Exactly.
Right?
It makes this a story.
The one team that we were saying, wow, they could start 4-0. And maybe we should get our researchers on it. We don't have any researchers. Yeah. Okay, we don't have the budget for that.
You're looking at the researchers here.
Yeah. Just two Yanks, a couple of Yanks shooting blanks. Yeah. Those are the researchers. But that's what we heard. That's what we heard tell that North Melbourne, the Roos, could start 4-0. Which, had you said that 3 weeks ago, you would have been taken to the asylum.
Yep,
like right now.
But after that,
funny farm for you. You think North Melbourne's going to be any good?
And they come out and get a big win in the first week of the year.
Yeah,
and you're thinking, wow. And the people were talking 4-0.
Yeah,
and then somebody reminded, which I don't remember how long it's been, but said, "Hey, pump the brakes. This is a team that hasn't won back-to-back games in 3 years, maybe. It's been a while." And sure enough, after getting out to a strong start, being up by 30, I think, or something. They had a very good first quarter.
Yeah.
Totally going in the tank against West Coast, who everybody was. A lot of people were picking to go winless this year.
What are we talking about here?
I don't know. And West Coast.
How do you go
on them?
How do you go from let's go 4-0 to start this season to losing to West Coast?
Exactly.
Now, for all the West Coast fans out there, I'm not. I learned a new term with the whole Patrick Voss thing.
Yes, I think I did too. Go ahead.
Sledging is
sledging.
Is that the term?
Yes.
When
sledge West Coast.
When you're cracking on somebody, you're sledging them. That's the term I saw in all these stories. I actually love that term. That's fantastic. Yeah. I am not sledging on West Coast. Okay, yeah. I'm just talking about the reality and expectations. 111-94, West Coast gets their first victory of the season.
Yep, and they got 4 points now. No longer among the winless teams in the AFL.
Of which there are three.
Of which there are three. And
including
Brisbane.
The two-time Premiership Lions.
Yes. But before we get to them, I just one thing I want to say about West Coast. A lot of these players that did good things and scored the goals and set them up, they showed a lot of speed. They showed a lot of good young scoring, and that some of their young players they've gotten in these recent drafts are starting to come through for them. So now all of a sudden you're seeing more of a light at the end of the tunnel. This could be a fun team to watch this year, and actually might be able to win a few games and build something there, which, people thought coming into the season, they were by far the worst team in the league, but obviously showing some pluck, and I like to see that.
Same team that was a how many point dog against Sydney?
66.
66-point dog.
And lost by 60 or 61, I believe.
Well, they covered. I think it was 58. I think it was 58.
Yeah.
58. Did. But this was the Sydney juggernaut we were talking about.
Yes.
This wasn't the swan dive that happened this past week.
Exactly.
But you still had a little bit of hope for West Coast because they covered. Well, now they come out, and North Melbourne wasn't the 12th or 13th or 14th team on the ladder going into this past weekend's games. And I understand it's week 3. I get it. They were number 4. They were number 4 in the ladder, right behind the big 3. And they absolutely crashed out.
They did. And so now it's a reality check, to see, who it. See, Essendon is among the winless as well. Now, Essendon is the team that people fear might not win a game this year. But if I'm North, I'm thinking.
Well, and that's the matchup this week.
Yeah.
So Essendon, it appears, presents a really good get-back opportunity for the Kangaroos.
Yeah. Or a chance for Essendon to say, hey, wait a minute. I guess there's a lot of heat on their coach. They've talked about rebuilding for a while.
A lot of bad buzz right now.
Yeah.
Going on with the Bombers.
Yeah, and they're a streak of over 300 days I saw without a win. So they're
without a victory. Yeah, I mean, of the 3 pointless teams on the ladder, Brisbane's the best at 77.2. Richmond's at 64.5, and nobody's expecting a lot out of Richmond this year either.
No.
But Essendon is down there at 55%. And they are just, I mean, they're just getting it handed to them. They got beat by 65 this week to Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
135 or yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, 133 to 70 to Port Adelaide this week. I mean, yeah, they scored 70 points, but I mean, they just have nothing going on right now.
They don't. And and it takes me a while. The percentages here still play with my mind, and I'm not a math major or wasn't. But that basically, if you're down in the 50s,
you don't got to tell me twice.
It basically means you're getting doubled up almost every week.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You're basically getting doubled up every week. If you
you're getting run bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So doesn't speak well for Essendon. So we'll have to monitor them this weekend when they can get a win against North, because they might not get too many winnable games on their schedule.
No. So there's
fixture,
2 teams.
Fixture.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's the fixture, not the schedule.
It's true. That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
Another term that I like.
I think you're gonna find, as long as I'm under the influence of Alka-Seltzer, I'm gonna call a lot of things wrong. I think.
Yeah.
But I will call it the ladder. I will not call it the standings. It is indeed the ladder. And there's 2 teams at the top. 2 teams at the top. We talked about Gold Coast. We talked about Western. By the way, in case you're wondering, they don't play each other until like July. So any hopes of an early season collision to see where we are, yeah, that's not going to happen.
No.
I think they play in the middle of July. I think it's I think it's after what do I want to say? It's during the what do I say, the open weeks, the weeks that haven't been scheduled yet.
Yes.
I think it's like week 18. I think they schedule the first 15?
I believe
15, 16 weeks, and then they do flex scheduling for the rest of the year, which I'm sure would never work in this country.
Not
to have a calendar where your last 12 opponents are TBA.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, in the NFL, everybody has a bird when it's week 18, the last week of the year, when you got one game where everything's up in the air, and they don't announce that until 6 days before. Imagine if they did that with each week in the AFL.
I mean,
would reign.
The people that get the vapors over week 0, those are the people that would, go apoplectic over something like that. So you got Gold Coast Western. We talked about them. Sydney Hawthorn, a game behind. And then a whole mess of teams with 4 points.
Yeah.
Including my Melbourne Demons, who right now sit just outside the wild card spaces, that 6 through 10 space. Yeah. And actually only mere percentage points ahead of West Coast. So again, not sledging. Love that term. Not sledging on West Coast. Sledging. Just tell you how it is here after the opening round and weeks 1 and 2.
And Carlton, thanks to its bludgeoning they took in the first week, and narrow win over Richmond in the second week, is way down there as well. They might be.
Well, Carlton is the worst of the teams with points.
Yeah,
and their percentage is actually worse than Brisbane's. So yeah, so that's where Carlton is right now. Carlton's at 15. My D's are at 11. That wild card, you got Port, Adelaide, Collingwood, and St. Kilda. And I think we got to mention St. Kilda a little bit more, other than the 29 seconds. They get a win they needed badly for a team that, despite its payroll, seemingly does not have the expectations of a Sydney, a Western, a Gold Coast, and Adelaide even. Get their first win, kind of get that monkey off their back. Do you think that propels them?
Well, they got Brisbane this week. And Brisbane, I think that's the game of the week, actually, because there's no 2 teams in the top 10 playing each other. It's all top 10 teams versus teams outside the top 10. So it's kind of a weird week. It's not you don't have, there could be some parity coming out of this, or you can really separate the haves and have-nots, depending on what happens among these games. But I think
Well,
that's the game
not
to
only
watch.
that, but a quirk of the scheduling, and I'm sure the league has to love this. The top 4 teams are off.
Yeah.
All of them. The
All the
ones with
top,
12
yeah.
points and the one with 8 points. So
Yep.
what you've got this week is a bunch of 4-pointers and 0-pointers playing each other.
Yeah. So, it gives these guys a chance to catch back up. And then you have 2 off next week. And then that kind of ends the early season buys to make up for the week 0. But yeah, St. Kilda and Brisbane coming off a bye week. St. Kilda, needs to keep showing that they should be considered one of the top teams. I think that's going to be the most interesting game of this weekend.
That's Friday night, our time, 9:35 start. St. Kilda hosting at Marvel Stadium. The rest of the schedule looks like this. Thursday, Geelong and Adelaide at the GMHBA. That's a 4:30 a.m. start. 2 games on Friday, Collingwood, Greater Western Sydney. That's the early one at Marvel. The later one at Marvel is St. Kilda, Brisbane, as we mentioned. Saturday, Freo, Richmond, Essendon, North Melbourne, Port Adelaide, West Coast, 1:15, 4:35, and then 9:30 p.m. And then we mentioned Sunday morning here in the States, Carlton, Melbourne at the MCG, a 12:15 start. And I am bringing breakfast casserole, Joe.
Oh, is you're making that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to whip up something as well. We will be sitting here in this lovely living room looking that way. I'm looking at the TV right now, watching the match. Our only time to watch our teams play this year.
That's
we
right.
had a brief discussion earlier in the week of why they don't play twice. And I guess some years they can, some years they can't. It's a rivalry thing. It's where you finish in the ladder. But I wish they did play twice for our sake so we could get a chance to do this, twice a year, sit and enjoy our teams play each other.
Well, I mean, it's another chance to make McDonald's casserole.
Exactly.
First of all.
Which is not your breakfast.
And hopefully not get sledged by our local McDonald's.
And you do not refer, when you say breakfast casserole, you're not getting a McDonald's breakfast casserole, right?
Oh, no. This will not be the breakfast version of McDonald's casserole. If you're wondering what McDonald's casserole is, it's a TikTok thing. Go look it up. It's actually, I mean, it's good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's not cooking. Okay.
Yeah, it's not cooking. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, exactly. You may need a backup heart to shove into your chest after you get done eating this.
Exactly.
But it's more unwrapping and putting sauce on things than cooking. But anyway, it's TikTok. Look it up. No, breakfast casserole is maybe just a step up from the cooking. It's basically cooking a bunch of things and then putting it together. And then we'll use your oven. We'll melt some cheese on it. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
I was gonna say, if you just want to make it here, if we get a break from the NCAA, the March Madness, I'm sure we got the early game that's on one of these Fox stations. We can watch that's leading into our showdown. Who'd you say it was? Was it Port Adelaide? I think plays at the.
That late one. It's Port and West Coast. So maybe we get our first look at West Coast. Personally.
Yeah.
And see if. The sauce matches the sizzle a little bit on these guys. Because I'm with you. You may not be any good. I mean, sometimes you're rebuilding, okay? Although for West Coast, it seems like they've been rebuilding for a while. But anyway, if you're putting an effort into it, if it looks like you give a darn, you're going to have people cheering for you.
And when you're going with the young players and you're getting results from young players, you can lose with young player mistakes rather than retreads.
You can live with that. Yeah. You can live with that with the hope of improvement in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's, seems like West Coast now has opened some eyes, including mine. I want to get a chance to watch them and see what
I want to see too. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good call, Joe. That's a good call. How about a final thought for today?
Final thought really is I'm looking forward to Carlton getting back on against your guys to see, if they can play 2 halves. If the games were consistent, ended at the halftime, Carlton would be a great club. They would be 2-0. They
would have won the premiership last year.
Yeah. Probably would have.
They darn near almost would have gone undefeated.
It's that darn second half. If they,
I don't know.
That darn second half.
I don't know who invented that, but boy, they need to talk.
That's my final thought is just, I'm looking forward to that. And I wish we had some better matchups earlier in the week because I'd like to maybe tune into one of those. But I just think it's crazy that the quirk of the scheduling
has the top 4 teams off this week. I mean, you couldn't have planned that, right?
Yeah, it's just the way it worked out, and it's just, but that happened. And your final thought is?
Well, my final thought involves a legend we lost last Friday, Chuck Norris passing away
Yes.
at the age of 86. Star of the big screen, the small screen, Walker, Texas Ranger, 9 seasons. Famous fight with Bruce Lee. Known the world over as the example of macho America. Can we agree with that?
I would say so, yes. Spawned
And-
many memes and jokes.
Well, I was just gonna say, because of this, he became a king, a true king of the memes. And you know which memes I'm talking about, right? You know, Chuck Norris can cut through a hot knife with butter. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The flu gets vaccinated for Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
That
Chuck
kind of
Norris
stuff.
doesn't change light bulbs because he's not afraid of the dark. That kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So you wonder, okay, what the footy? Where are you going with this? Well, about 10 years ago, Fox Footy put together a video clip about 1.5 minutes long. And if I remember, we'll post it on our socials. We'll post it on, it actually originates on Facebook. So, Joe, you might want to take care of that when I show you where it is. Fox Footy did this video with Max Gone, of all people, and 2 puppets that remind me of Waldorf and Statler from The Muppet Show. And they were riffing on the Chuck Norris meme theme, except using Max Gone. So here's a couple they used with Max Gone. They said when Max Gone wants a salad, he eats a vegetarian. Max Gone was bored in a log cabin that he built. And the title, which I don't really agree with, but it's the title of the video anyway, says, every night when Chuck Norris goes to sleep, he checks under his bed for Max Gone. Chuck Norris, we will miss you. Dead at the age of 86. And incidentally, phenomenal life, right?
Yes.
Incidentally, Max Gone, also 86 years old, but he's playing well. Let's go, Maxie.
He is. He looked at last year like he was 86. He's playing a lot younger this year, and that's good to see for your club.
Oh my God, we have gone way too long in this episode.
Yes,
so
we
we're
have.
gonna wrap it up. Thanks for hanging with us here on WTF What the Footy. We're on the socials. Check us out on Twitter and X, WTF What the Footy. On YouTube, WTF What the Footy. You'll find all of our episodes there. On Facebook, WTF What the Footy. For Joe Rutter, I'm Robert Gregory. See you next time.
Showtime.
Showtime. I think since we went 58 minutes,
Yeah,
we should do a little 60-second behind the scenes. So I haven't hit end yet.
okay.
So everybody's gonna be wondering, listen, we're gonna do this from time to time. I don't feel like hitting the end button, so we're just gonna chat up a little bit.
Yeah, we got another minute left. There.
We're gonna we can loosen up. I gotta tell you something. So I've been sick like the last 3, 4, 5 days.
Yes.
Usually talking right now is tough because I just start gagging. My body starts sledging me. Think about it that way. But after talking for about an hour, my sinuses feel great right now.
That's good. Maybe we need to start expanding the podcast to more than 1 day a week.
It makes as much
your health.
sense. Well, it makes as much sense as building a 23,000 seat stadium for $1 gazillion.
True.
No, I'm not going to let that one go.
No. Hey, I think next week we might need to get in. Maybe it'll be finalized by this point. But I saw that the AFL is in negotiations with Kylie Minogue to perform at the grand final.
Oh, so she's going to be the Katy Perry this year.
Oh yeah,
Wasn't it Katy Perry? Was it Katy Perry last year?
We had Snoop. Remember?
Oh, that's right. It was Snoop. When was
Yeah.
Katy Perry? Was she the year before?
I wasn't following then, so
I think maybe it was.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we should end it.